Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Welcome back to the Broker Bulletin. Today, we're tackling a question that comes up more often than you might think. What do you do when a client asks for help outside the commercial or home loan space? I'm Tom Caesar, Group Executive at L&G for Asset Finance. And in this episode, we're diving into the power of referral networks and why they're becoming a game changer for broker businesses across the entire country. Joining us is Jason Masri from eCarz. Thanks for taking the time, Jason. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks very much for having me.
How do you see referring asset finance out as something that strengthens brokers' relationships with their existing clients? And when we're talking about brokers here, obviously a bit about eCarz first and what you guys do with mortgage brokers would be a good introduction, but then also how you see what you do strengthening those relationships for brokers.
Quick brief about eCarz. We kicked off just over 8 years ago. When we initially started, the name probably said it all. It was all about cars. It was about helping customers buy cars, sell cars, and finance them. Over time, we've diversified into all other asset finance, like personal loans, boats, caravans, jet skis, commercial, business loans, you name it. We do everything other than home loans, which has been a good synergy to be able to work with a lot of mortgage brokers to assist them and their clients. They see us as a support for their business. The biggest thing for mortgage brokers, I guess, rather than being seen as a mortgage broker, but being seen as a broker, and for their clients to be able to call them for everything finance rather than just a home loan. When they work with an asset finance broker, generally you think about a client that buys a home loan, they buy a new house. I don't know how many, what the times are, whether it's 7 years or by the time they buy another house or they buy an investment property. Whereas people will turn their cars over every 33 months as an average. But apart from that, they might also have a reason to speak with their broker for personal loans or anything else. It just creates much more frequent touch points with their clients rather than having big gaps. Allows them to see their broker as a broker that can assist them with many solutions, not just one thing.
So with brokers, we often hear a lot of mortgage brokers say things like it's too hard or I lose deals to a dealer, and there is an element of upskilling to be able to keep those deals. So there's obviously a commercial benefit in terms of the referral fees. But outside of that, what do you see as the impact to their bottom line and their P&L as to still maintaining the relationships with those customers via referral networks like what you provide at eCarz?
The biggest thing is for example, if a client goes to their mortgage broker and said, hey, can you assist me with finance for an excavator or for a car or whatever it might be? If the answer is no, the client's going to find somebody else to assist them. That somebody else may be a more diversified broker than what that person is than this broker is offering. A good broker that can assist with multiple solutions, first thing they're going to do, they're going to go through and go, no worries, let me help you with the finance for this excavator. Let me gather the information. Your asset backed, fantastic. And as they start building relationships, if they're good at what they do, then I'll be, hey, what rate are you paying now? And when do you come off? And what else can I do for you on your home loan? Can I present you with some options? The idea of it is to work with someone who's never going to compete with you. I guess that's why we're part of the Asset Finance Exchange, because we don't do home loans. We have zero intent to ever do home loans. We're there as a support for the broker to be able to assist them and their client, and they retain their client. As far as the client's concerned, the prime contact for them is that mortgage broker they've gone to. We're helping in between.
100%. So that reputation that they have for them, it's not necessarily being the absolute expert, but by having someone in their corner who is an expert, it really does help protect their reputation, because they're not going to firstly fumble their way through a deal, but they're also going to have a solution where, a good referral partner in this space is like an extension to their business. How do you see that in terms of reputational risk and sort of solving that problem?
Well, like you said, having the right partner is paramount. You don't want to be dealing with somebody who is an amateur at what they're doing, because they are an extension of your business. But let's face it, you or me as business owners, we don't do everything in our business. We do delegate a lot of tasks. There's certain things that you do and there's certain that you don't do. No different to me. With them being a mortgage broker, having a client to come with them and say, I want to do a car loan, for example, then that's fine. Let me get my asset finance team to assist you with that.
I mentioned earlier that there are a lot of brokers that do overlook asset finance. The tide has turned. We can probably agree on that, but there's a lot of opportunities that they are missing. Now, I think one of the most common things I hear out there is that they lose deals to a dealer. So then they just sort of go, it's too hard because it makes them look bad when they can't compete with a dealer. What's your response to that? Like, where do you see the opportunity for specifically mortgage brokers who obviously aren't doing this day to day? How do they overcome that one?
There's two areas in this. And when we say dealer, I'm not going to be motivated specific. I'll keep it very broad because a dealer could be a truck, equipment, machinery, whatever it might be. I think the relationship is such an important part of this, because if you've got a good relationship with your clients and they know what you do, you can't sell a secret. If you promote yourself as a mortgage broker, and if I tell my customer that I'll do your home loan and that's where it stops, well, they don't have a reason to call me for anything else. So I need to make sure that my client is aware of the services that I can provide to them, even though I'm not doing every single part of it myself, but it is a service that I can provide to them. So first is about staying in contact with your client. We all work so hard on finding new clients, but I can't speak for everyone, but I know there's a lot of brokers that they do the deal and move on to the next one. But the old school sales, if you do the deal and if you ask, hey, is there anybody that you can refer me to? And if you stay in touch with the client, you'd be surprised at how often they will actually refer you to somebody.
Once that referral has come in and there's obviously that dealer conversation, what advice would you give some of those guys? You know, where do you see the opportunities to not lose the deal to the dealer or manufacturer, the OEM's financiers?
If it's motor vehicles, it's working with a car broker to help source the vehicle. For example, within our business, we've got a car brokerage. If we've got a client that comes to us and says, I want to buy a new Isuzu D-Max, I go, great. Look, before you lock anything down with the dealer yourself, let me get my guys to get you a price. One, we'll get them a better price than they can get themselves.
That bit there is, I think over, my journey in asset finance was something that I always used to say to people, just don't let your customer go into the car yard first. Like, be part of the buying journey, not just the finance.
Well, that's why I go back to what I was saying before about having that relationship. Because by the time they've already gone to the car yard, now they've come to you, you're a step behind. So that's why I go back to what I was saying before about that relationship that you build with the client, of them knowing the services that you can provide to them. So if they know that you've got a car broker service, before they go to the dealership and buy that Isuzu D-Max, they call you and they go, hey, you said you've got a car broker service that can assist me. But if they've already gone to the dealership and the dealership's presented them with a quote, now they've come to you, it's a race to the bottom. So it's about being a step ahead rather than being reactive. It's about being proactive.
Does that come back to the database as well? We speak about a broker making this part of their business and an actual department of their business. It's about being proactive and making it part of their strategy within all of their marketing and everything in between, so that when a customer does go to a dealership, they already know that Bob, or the broker over here, he does the car broking, the car buying and the finance. So they already know that before they go into the dealership. Is that sort of where you're sort of leading to there?
Absolutely. It's about making your clients aware of the service that you can provide to them before they go and do it themselves. Because if they go, you know what, I want to go buy myself a boat, and they go to a boat dealer, they're not even thinking of you because you're a mortgage broker. They're not thinking of you, let's be honest. I think I want to go buy a boat. Because at no point have you insinuated or told them that I can assist you with buying a boat or I can assist you with financing a boat. So now they go to the boat dealer. The dealer goes, here's the boat, here's the price, here's the payments, and here's my rate. And they go, oh, maybe I'll call Bob. I'll see if Bob can help me. Now all of a sudden we're starting to race to the bottom. Whereas if they've come to Bob up front, Bob goes, hey, I can get you an approval for $100,000. You want a boat? Let's go find yourself a boat. At least now when they're walking into a dealer, they're going, I've got my finance approved. Thanks very much. Look, there might be some competition, there might be some resistance. If it's a vehicle, and if we've sent the customer to the dealer to source the car, the dealer doesn't talk to the customer about finance because we go through the fleet departments. Like I said, firstly, we've got better pricing that they can give them through retail. The consumer buys one car every 3 or 4 years. We source 80 cars a month or 90 cars a month. So we're going to get better pricing than they can. But it stays out of the finance department as well, which means if Bob is doing the finance himself, well, let's he retains the finance.
I think there's an element as well as if we speak about a mortgage broker versus a finance broker, I mean, I think we are seeing the evolution of having the word mortgage in your title. It's an assumption that that's all you offer. What's your thoughts on if you're a mortgage broker, should you be calling yourself a mortgage broker or should you be calling yourself a finance broker these days?
I'm probably very guilty of it personally. I'm very, very guilty of it personally.
It's a controversial question.
I agree. Look, I prefer to say I'm a finance broker. I don't specialise in home loans, but I'm a finance broker rather than say I'm a mortgage broker, because if you're a mortgage broker, automatically it kind of isolates you, puts you in that you do home loans. Hey, we're guilty of it within our own business. We started our business called it eCarz. And for the first couple of years, we pumped a ton of money into branding, into eCarz. I'm getting into boat loans and carriers. People go, do you do boats? Do you do trucks? So we've rebranded our business called ourselves eCarz Group. Maybe I should change the name altogether. Probably 8 years down the journey, a bit late now. But look, if I was to do it all again, it's probably something I would think about a little bit more, to be honest.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but it probably, I suppose, it's a challenge that a lot of businesses have once they've built their brand. But for those brokers who haven't begun this journey, for those resi guys, how do you see these brokers introducing asset finance to clients in a way that is more natural, adds value, and is sort of part of that strategy that allows it to be more proactive than reactive?
That's a great question. And I think a simple answer, let me get my asset finance team to call you. And what it does is it makes you look so much bigger as well as a business, rather than, hey, look, some mortgage brokers are a one-man band, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But by saying, let me get my asset finance team to call you, it makes your business seem bigger as well. And where yes, the asset finance team is, whether it's LMG Asset Finance or whether it's the eCarz Group or whatever, that's my asset finance team. And when we call, I work with Tom, how can I help? And with the integrations with the system with my CRM that you can push a lot of data across, it doesn't make the customer feel like we're starting from scratch all over again every single time. Yes, it's a vetting process, but if you've given Tom all your details, we can just flow on from there just to vet. You're still at this address, you're still there. Yes, continue. Let's keep going. It's making us seem like we're connected, making us seem like we do work closely together. We might be distant, but it's the impression of
an extension of the brokerage is what you're saying, is like if you've got a good referral partner, should feel like an extension and part of the team.
Absolutely.
So if we go back before that phone call, so let's go to 6 months before the customer, how do brokers get more of those phone calls? What are the things that you see successful brokers implement into their business to get the phone ringing, to get the emails coming in, to get the inquiries on their web forms that come through for asset finance?
I think it's very simple sales tactics of the follow-up. How's it going? After you've settled a home loan for your client, making sure you follow up. I've dealt with mortgage brokers previously in the past that they've done a home loan for me and I haven't spoken to them for 2 years until I bought my next investment property. And that was me calling them. So some of those people, I haven't dealt with these people since, but it's about maintaining a relationship with your client rather than it's a done deal, money in the bank, move on to the next one. Part of the reason you're getting a trail as well, and it's about maintaining that relationship with your client, whether it's birthday phone calls. It's a simple thing. I've got a mortgage broker that does all my stuff now that has been doing my stuff for the last 20 years. I still get a phone call from him, not a card. I get the old school pick up the phone and calls me. Hey, Jace, just calling to wish you a happy birthday. It's in his diary. He has not missed it once in 20 years. It's something so small, but he does. But it's a reason to connect.
Yeah.
And trying to make everything in a digital age will become so automated. It's everything by email nowadays that feels, you open it up and it's got pictures that don't pop up and don't load properly, rather than an old school email that goes, hey, Tom, hope you're well, just checking in.
We're talking about obviously the way that a broker is communicating with their customer. There are probably two. If we simplify the personas of the customers, you've really got a self-employed customer that can be quite complex, and you've got a PAYG customer that can be a bit more of a simpler transaction. However, there are probably two sets of asset finance opportunities in those. What advice would you give to mortgage brokers on attacking those two segments differently?
Great question. I'll talk about self-employed for a second. You've been in asset finance for a long time yourself, and I'm sure you've seen plenty of those yourself, and you can confirm this. Most finance brokers will look for the easiest way to get the deal done. If it's a low doc deal, how can I make this deal happen as a low doc deal, and how can I fit it in with which lender? So they can just make the deal go through, rather than understanding the customer's wants and needs and long-term needs and pairing them with the right lender. So it's not just a one-off transaction that I'm doing for you today, but what else do you need further down the track? Maybe they have a growth strategy with their business. So it's just taking the time to understand the client's wants and needs, what their goals are, and setting the right loans for them for the future as well, rather than, you 2 years ABN with it. Okay, cool. Let's just do it with this, then do a loan up loan because we're going to slip it through there. It's nice and quick and easy. Yes, it might be easier to not have to sit there and read and understand, dissect financials. But when you look at the financials, and you look at the balance sheet, then you realize that all these other assets, you can ask questions about those assets. Who are the loans with? How long have they got to go? What is he looking to do beyond this transaction? So that's what I think is acting as more of a professional and thinking long term rather than just now.
Yeah.
And I think when you do things, try to think of the end in mind, often when you do a transaction, and not be so transactional with your deals, but more about a relationship. And that's why AI will one day replace a lot of what we do today. The relationship is so important. I can't stress that enough.
There are some brokers who are hesitant about referring. It's natural. You're giving your customer to someone you don't know. What advice would you give them, and maybe some of the concerns they might have about losing control of the client relationship?
It's a tough one. We've worked very hard to get our clients, and we don't want to refer them to somebody who can cost us that client. Build a relationship with the asset finance broker if you're going to ask somebody to do it. And I'm not saying it's us, but whoever you're going to deal with, find somebody that you know, that you like, that you can trust, that is reliable, that is going to deliver a good result for your clients, and treat them like they're their own.
Jace, thanks for joining us. At Broker Bulletin, we're all about finding those 1% improvements that lead to big wins. I've been fortunate enough to spend some time with you, and I know you're one of the hardest workers I've met, and you do a lot of things regularly. You've got a real balanced lifestyle. What's one small thing that you do every day that has the biggest impact on your performance?
Relationship. I try to build the best relationships that I can with my staff, my team, and my clients and my referrers. Relationships, in my opinion, are so important. Invest time into that as well as yourself, obviously.
I love that. And I can genuinely validate that. I see that in you, and I see the way you do it. And it's a credit to the way you built your business. So, to wrap up, to be honest, that's my biggest takeaway from today's conversation, mate, is I admire the way you go about relationships. It's back to basics. It's old school sales, which is relationship selling, and appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have a topic you want to discuss, please email us at brokerbulletin@lmg.broker or DM us on Instagram at lmg.broker, and our producer will make sure we answer it ASAP. If you liked this episode, make sure you rate and follow us in your favorite pod store. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favorite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.